This is the 7th annual Santa Rosa Junior College Petaluma Campus Community Breakfast. This event was made possible through our following silver sponsors: Exchange Bank, Pacific Union and Christie's International Real Estate, Clover Sonoma, Lace House Linen Supply Incorporated, Mahoney Davidson Company Property Management, Torkelson & Associates LLP Certified Public Accountants. And we'd like to thank our table sponsors: Coldwell Banker Residential Brokerage, Poppy Bank, Star Staffing, Rod Moore, Attorney at Law, Enza Wealth Management, Rotary Club of Petaluma, Vanguard Properties, Petaluma Healthcare District, Petaluma Health Center, Pasenti and Brinker LLP Certified Public Accountants and Advisors, Trustee Maggie Fishman and Bill Fishman, St. Joseph's Health, The Reagan, TPB Architecture, and Fast Signs.
Good morning, everyone. I know that this is such a terrific celebration of gathering, and I always hate to break it up to start our program every year, but I also make a promise to get you out of here on time. So good morning and welcome to SRJC Petaluma's 7th annual Building Community Breakfast, presented in collaboration with the Friends of Petaluma Campus Trust in the heart of Petaluma's College District. I'm Jane Saldaña-Talley, proud Vice President here at SRJC Petaluma and your host for today's program. I hope you had some fun during our welcome reception and got a selfie with Roscoe or Fresno. And I also hope you get a taste of one of those munchkins, this year's amuse-bouche, courtesy of Dunkin' Donuts. I want to thank store owners Disha and Yogi Trivedi for their generous donation, and manager David Kopochius for serving up these delicious treats. I also want to thank Alvarado Street Bakery for donating bagels for today's breakfast, and to Jeff Bricker for his donation of our beautiful sponsor sign there at the entrance, produced by his business Speed Pro Imaging. Before I go any further, I want to give a heartfelt shout out to today's silver sponsors for this event, who've raised the bar in support of this year's breakfast, and whose generosity we so deeply appreciate. Our thanks this year to Clover Sonoma, Exchange Bank, Lace House Linen Supply Incorporated, who provided the linens for today's event and have done that year over year, Mahoney Davidson Company Property Management, Pacific Union International, and Torkelson Associates LLP Certified Public Accountants. Please join me in giving them a big hand. It is always my pleasure each year to acknowledge our elected officials who are with us this morning. So please stand and give a wave as I call your name, and hold your applause as much as you can resist until I've introduced them all. So with us today, and here for State Senator Bill Dodd from California's 3rd Senate District is Field Representative Logan Pitts. For U.S. Representative Jared Huffman from California's 2nd Congressional District, Sonoma Field Representative Blake Hooper. For U.S. Representative Mike Thompson from California's 5th Congressional District, Sonoma Field Representative Andrea Rodriguez. And here in person, Sonoma County Board of Supervisors from the 2nd Supervisorial District, our friend David Rabbit. From the Petaluma City Council, Council Member Teresa Barrett and Council Member Dave King. From Petaluma City Schools District Board of Education, Board President Sherry Chablowski, Clerk Phoebe Ellis, and Trustee Michael Baddeley. From the Old Adobe Union School District Board of Trustees, Patsy Knight. From the Petaluma Healthcare District Board, the President, Elise Hempel, Vice President Josephine Thornton, and Treasurer Joe Stern. From the Santa Rosa Junior College Board of Trustees, our trustee and the Petaluma Area and Board President Maggie Fishman, Member Jeff Kunde, former board member Onita Pellegrini, and former board member and member of the Friends of Petaluma Campus Trust, Kathleen Doyle. Also with us today from the SRJC Foundation Board of Directors is Chair Kent Siegmiller, Vice Chair Jeff Bricker, Member Doug Garrison, who was the former Vice President here at this campus, and along with Foundation Executive Director Kate McClintock. Welcome. And lastly, my partners in this event, and certainly not least, are the Friends of Petaluma Campus Trust and my co-hosts. Chair this year, Mike Harris, Vice Chair, Lori Enix, immediate past chair, Tony Parrish, John Dado, Ramona Faith, Marcia Harris, Noah Jacobson, Carol Ann LaBarle, Carrie Mahoney-Davison, Rod Moore, Warren Payne, Doris Tolks, our faculty representative, Molly Matheson, and retired members, Ray Pounds, Richard Albertoni, who are also with us today. And then I'm hoping Nicole Smart is going to be joining us, and unable to join us today is Edie Cheetah, Gabe Kearney, and Christina Kalk. So let's give everyone a hand. So lastly, and in case you haven't already heard this, SRJC is celebrating her 100th birthday this year. How's that for sustainability? It's been fun to look back on the history of the college and to recall a time in 1931 when enrollment was 300 students and the Santa Rosa campus consisted of one building, Pioneer Hall, situated in a field of oaks. What's long since forgotten is that it took a bond measure in 1938 to begin expansion of that beautiful campus. 1.5 million students later, the voters of Sonoma County continue to step up in support of SRJC. If you're a property owner like me, you may occasionally wonder, what are my voter-approved taxes being used for? So in this place, on this day, I urge you to revel in your investment. Appreciate what you've made possible in our community and celebrate with us the opportunity realized when you have a world-class community college in your own backyard. So now what I'd like to do is I'd like to invite Brendan Mcmullen to the podium for the singing of our national anthem. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Brendan while he's making his way up here. Brendan is a tenor vocalist who resides in Santa Rosa, California. He works for the Santa Rosa Children's Chorus as a music theory instructor, and in May, we're very proud of you, he received his Associate of Arts degree in vocal music from the Santa Rosa Junior College. Brendan has been awarded several scholarships, including the Glenn H. and Mildred B. Long Music Scholarship and the Dr. Curtis Springer Vocal Music Scholarship. In the fall of 2019, Brendan will be continuing his studies at Sonoma State University, where his focus will be on music education, and you'll understand why in just a couple of minutes. Please stand for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the are free, and the home of the brave.
So last week during a statewide training, I got into a conversation with a colleague at another college. And I noted with some pride that SRJC was celebrating her 100th anniversary. And then, of course, I bragged that in those 100 years, we'd only had 5 presidents. He looked at me with wide-eyed shock and said, "Why, we've had 5 presidents in the last 8 years." In a district as stable as SRJC, it's easy to forget what longevity in a college leader means. Leadership at the helm of institutions such as SRJC is challenging at best. It takes courage and stamina and a willingness to listen and learn from experience. I've been blessed to work with and for numbers 4 and 5. Working as I have in the nexus between one of those rare occasions when we're transitioning, I've come to appreciate and value what Frank Chong has brought to this college, not the least of which was his early role as first believer that our community so valued this college they would vote to approve Measure H, the largest bond measure ever passed in Sonoma County. Because of that, SRJC and SRJC Petaluma will step into the next 100 years as the shining light of excellence it has always been. The first time I introduced him at this podium, he was just months into his tenure. Today, it's my most sincere pleasure to introduce for the 7th time and still SRJC's 5th college president, Dr. Frank Chong.
Seven times, huh? 7 times the charm?
It is a charm.
I don't get the 7-year itch. Good morning, everybody. I want to first of all thank Brendan. Brendan passed a test for Star Spangled Banners because he raised the hair in the back of my neck. So thank you, Brendan, one of our great SRJC students. Well, all is well in the world. The Warriors won last night. And the reason I like this breakfast is I don't have to compete like we did in the 100th anniversary with the first game of the championships. And it always seems it's this time of year. And people have been asking me, "Frank, how are you doing? You know, you doing all right?" Because there's been a lot of stuff going on. And I said, you know, I could be the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers. You know, I'm doing just fine. And I really appreciate seeing everybody from Petaluma. As many of you know, my lovely wife, Lean, and I decided when we got the job here that we're not going to live in Santa Rosa. We want to live in Petaluma, you know. And we don't regret that one day in our lives because the people in this community, all the tables I see and the people I see at Petaluma Market or at the Butter and Egg Parade, it's Butter and Egg Parade, not Butter and Eggs Parade, I was told, it's like family. It's like a great community where you want to run into people on B Street and you run into people on the tennis courts by Petaluma High. It's just such a embracing community and such a warm community that Lean and I have really fallen in love with it. And many people say, well, when you retire, hopefully not too soon, are you planning on living in this community? I said, oh yeah, we are, because we feel much a part of this community. I want to thank everybody in this room for welcoming us to Petaluma, to Sonoma County. And as Jane said, we're on our 100th anniversary, but I've been thinking a lot about the history of the college, and Casey Graney, my crack researcher, let me know that there's been 7 trustees in the history of Petaluma, and 4 of them have been women, you know. And I've had an opportunity to work with 3 of them. First, when I arrived, Onita Pellegrini. Onita is really with the Chamber of Commerce here locally, and she has been so supportive of the JC and supportive of me. I'd like to really recognize Onita Pellegrini for her years of service with the, thank you, Onita. And I've also had an opportunity to work with Kathleen Doyle. Many of you know Kathleen. She is a real hard-ass trustee. She does not crack a smile in board meetings, and she's always looking at the bottom line in the books. And I've gotten I've grown so fond of Kathleen. We still remain friends and have dinner occasionally. So Kathleen, thank you for your service to Santa Rosa Junior College. And of course, my current boss, who's the president of the board this year and doing a fabulous job during difficult times and challenging times. She does not wilt. She does not shy away from controversy. She'll tell you the truth all the time. Sometimes it's not what you want to hear, but it's what's good for the college. And that is Maggie Fishman, our president. Maggie, thank you. Yeah. And also in the history of the JC at the Petaluma campus, we've only had 3 leaders of the campus. And one of them is somebody who, the first leader, and he's somebody who has moved back to Santa Rosa after serving a great career at Monterey Peninsula College, and I've become very good friends with him. He's become a mentor to me, and now he's active in our foundation. Please recognize Doug Garrison. Doug, would you please stand and be recognized? Doug told me that when he first came here, he didn't have a place to live, so he stayed at the pool house of the Mahonies and stayed there until he found a place. And so that's the type of welcoming people have for our leadership here. And also, for the last 10 years, I think, we've been very fortunate to have the current vice president of Petaluma in our planning, and it's somebody that has been really instrumental in guiding the college forward. She helped lead our strategic plan. She was very supportive on our bond measures, and she is the #1 advocate for the Petaluma campus and the community, and that's Jane Saldaña-Talley. So Jane, thank you for your service. So I would just say that the future looks bright for Santa Rosa Junior College. The need for trained individuals to transfer to 4-year institutions, to become welders, to become auto mechanics, to become leaders in our culinary area, leaders in drone making. We have a drone operating program. So we're looking toward the future. We just started a brew making program at Schoen Farm, and it's very popular. It's sold out, you know. So I think we're always looking to the future in terms of what are the workforce needs of the community going to be. And SRJC is very poised to do that. We are looking at bringing a solar sustainability program to the Petaluma campus. We're building out an animal vet tech program here with a special lab. So those investments are from Measure H. And also, if you look around campus, if you haven't been here for a while, we have our solar panels up. And those solar panels now make us net energy zero. So we don't pay a PG&E bill, and those monies will go forever. So I'm really proud of the work that's been done, and I really want to showcase the people that are behind that. And that's our wonderful faculty. You're going to hear from one of my favorite faculty, Michelle Hughes Markovics. Michelle is a wonderful instructor, and what I like about her is she says, Dr. Chong, when I first met her, she goes, have you been to Lagunitas? So you will find her as a regular there after dealing with students all semester. And Michelle always has a smile on her face, and you are in for a treat. And also Lee Sada. Lee has been one of my best hires. We brought him in here when we passed a bond. He's had experience working with bonds in Solano County and Marin County. He's helped lead facilities at UCSF. A very, very talented individual, and he will give you a great view of the bond and where we sit. So faculty, staff, students, and I want to thank the people in the back, the media services. They are there 100%. They're very quiet. They don't ask for any credit, but they've been doing like numerous events, graduations, the 100th anniversary, and today. So let's give the media services a big round of applause. So I just say this in closing, that each and every one of you know that we've had budget problems. It's not because of any one reason. I think the fires in October really hurt our enrollment, and the healthy economy. When students are working, they're not taking as many classes. So we need to rely on the people in this room more to help support our students and our faculty as we move forward. And that's just a fact. But I feel very, very encouraged that the last few months we've been able to work out a lot of the disagreements that you might have read about in the Press Democrat. And I knew I was in trouble when people came up to me and said, Frank, you know, how you doing? And then the next thing they would say is, I don't want to be you. I'm glad I'm not you. And when you hear that from 40 or 50 people, you go, man, what's wrong with me? I go home to my wife, Lee, and I said, you know, she goes, I don't want to be you either. But we made it through. and it's brighter days ahead. And I'll just close with a quote, one of my favorite quotes from Joe Biden when I worked in D.C. And he said, you know, education for our students is really about turning mirrors into windows. And that's what you do for our students. And you'll hear from our students today, too. So have a great summer. I am happy. Go Warriors. Thank you.
Frank, we're glad you're you. We are. And I hope you noticed the big giant clock we have in the back of the room. I was trying to have that be a cue to him this time, so I didn't have to pull him off the stage. Thank you. For those of you who've attended this event in the past, you know this is the time I usually step forward with my State of the Campus remarks. But this year, I've decided to ask two very special colleagues of mine to do the honors, Doctors Kathleen Williams and Matthew Long. At the heart of any great institution of higher learning are its faculty, and SRJC Petaluma is blessed with SRJC's finest. But the glue that truly holds the diverse elements of an academic institution together are invested in its deans. Deans have one of the toughest jobs in the institution. On the one hand, they're sandwiched between, sometimes very uncomfortably, between executives like Dr. Chong and me, who demand they hold the line on everything from policy to productivity. And on the other side, between faculty and students who are vast in number and filled with big ideas and needs that demand immediate resolution. When deans are great, the institution runs smoothly. Innovation flourishes and students experience life-changing education. But in the summer of 2014, we were fresh out of deans. Never mind great deans. Our permanent deans had resigned, and the handful of very talented individuals I tried to entice into the roles on a temporary basis said thanks but no thanks. After a national search, two great deans eventually emerged. I found one in our own backyard, Dr. Kathleen Williams, who's our Dean of Instruction and Enrollment Management, and the other, Dr. Matthew Long, our Dean of Student Services, who is 3,000 miles away in Connecticut. Kathleen and Matthew started with us in January and February of 2015, and I affectionately refer to them as the twins because of the way they immediately bonded into an unassailable and inseparable team. Their partnership brought to life my career-long belief that we best serve our students when no barriers exist between academic affairs and those who work in student services. Between them, Kathleen and Matthew have created a teaching and learning culture that is the envy of this district and colleges across the state. As an example of what great deans can realize, Matthew Long's student success team concept, developed and refined right here in Petaluma, was selected this year by the California Community College's Chancellor's Office for a $1.6 million innovation award that will allow us to scale it up here and in Santa Rosa and disseminate this promising practice to colleges across California. I am delighted, yes, something very special. I am delighted this morning to introduce you to two of SRJC's greatest deans, Kathleen Williams and Matthew Long, and allow each of them to share a bit of what we've accomplished this year.
Good morning. If it is true that we are a reflection of our community, then we are very grateful to reflect you and our accomplishments this past year. And this year was unlike any other. We started off the year with the joy of welcoming our new faculty members. We have Hannah Winkler in math, who I know is here. Matthew Martin, I'm going to ask you guys to wave or stand. Matthew Martin in English, and Dr. John Stover in sociology. There they are, welcome. These faculty are so engaging that when I visit their classrooms, I have to sit on my hands to not participate. And Jane and I probably take way too much personal credit for hiring faculty who not only excel at making connections inside the classroom, but who transform our campus with the connections they make outside of the classroom. A perfect example of this is our Student Research Conference, where hundreds of students present their posters on original research and literature review findings. We are grateful to be able to reflect our connections across disciplines with the support of our donor, Dr. Doug Garrison. We are growing here at SRJC Petaluma, creating new opportunities for students. And when I started here 3 years ago, we offered 8 career preparation certificates, and we are now at 13. This year, we offered for the first time our yoga teacher training certificate, created by our full-time kinesiology faculty, Andrea Thomas and Tara Jacobson. This program was fully enrolled, and 17 students completed their certificate this past spring, many of whom are already working in yoga studios in the community. This year, we also expanded our digital media offerings by offering the complete series of audio production classes for the first time. And local Petaluma resident and recording engineer, and now our adjunct faculty member, Jake Stillman, is transforming what used to be an office into a fully functioning recording studio. And we are growing our English language learners here in Southern Sonoma County, thanks to strong partnerships with Literacy Work Center and a solid pipeline from outreach to instruction. We have increased our ESL enrollments here by 45% in the last 3 years. And right now, we're renovating one of our classrooms into a state-of-the-art vet tech lab, complete with a mock surgical suite and dental exam area, which will allow Dr. Dan Femini to relocate his outstanding veterinary technician program here to SRJC Petaluma. And another area of expansion is the opportunities we're creating for high school students to learn about careers in cybersecurity. And last summer at our inaugural cybersecurity camp was a great success. Our campers participated in fun hands-on activities to train them in the cybersecurity protocols led by computer studies faculty Michael McKeever. And this year we're expanding the program by offering 2 levels of the camp for twice the number of students, all free to the community. But behind everything I've mentioned so far is a reflection of you, our community. Everything you're going to hear Michelle talk about is a reflection of you. Everything that we do that expands opportunities for students relies on grants and donations. Our legislature has moved away from the original 1960 master plan for higher education and now underfunds our general education classes, our classes that open people's minds, that teach them to critically analyze information that is coming in and synthesize information before it goes out, the classes that teach them how to do math, how to write, how to speak, how to learn. These skills, the timeless skills imbued by the liberal arts, collaboration, creativity, and synthesis, are needed now more than ever in this 4th industrial revolution, in the age of smart machines. And our students demand that we, in this changing landscape, that we continue to grow and expand our sciences. And right now at SRJC Petaluma, we can support students only in the most entry-level preparation courses for biology and chemistry majors. They can basically complete their first class with us before they make the trek up the freeway in order to complete their first year. In other words, everything you're going to hear Matthew talk about are efforts to welcome, guide, and engage students. We basically welcome our science students in, and then we guide them up to Santa Rosa. But thanks to you, we're expanding our STEM offerings here at SRJC Petaluma. Your Measure H bond property tax dollars will build our new chemistry and anthropology classrooms, allowing our students majoring in biology and chemistry to complete their entire first year here. This expansion will be entirely funded by local dollars, by your contributions, and we hope to reflect your continued support as we make this leap. The fires that we were all affected by reminded us of what is important to us. We all thought about what we would pack, and we all thought about what is most valuable in life. And we were able to reflect our community's love back on our students. We set up a hotline and triage center for displaced students. Our SRJC Foundation created the SRJC Fire Relief Fund, and our friends at Petaluma Campus Trust made $10,000 in student resource grants available. We reopened our doors after 2 weeks of closure and asked ourselves, how does one learn in the midst of trauma? We knew that recovery happens in community. We talked in our classes, we listened to each other's stories, we shared clothing and housing resources, we brought in our therapy dogs, we honored our loved ones with Day of the Dead altar workshops, we joined in healing circles, and we offered free yoga to the community, and we gave students a space to express themselves. Together, we became SRJC Strong, SRJC Fuerte, and together we reflected our community's strength and our community's values. Thank you.
In case you were wondering, Catherine and I are identical twins. I'd like to say that if the Santa Rosa campus is the 100-year-old wise grand dame, then we at Petaluma are the rambunctious, and dare I say talented, 20-something upstarts, laying claim to opportunities and creating new ones to make our mark. This campus's mission is to do the same, to prepare students and allow them to claim opportunities and make their mark. Because, ladies and gentlemen, success is where preparation and opportunity meet. So let me tell you, creating opportunity and preparing students is not easy work. We think the recipe is something like our guiding principles: a dash of welcome, a hearty slice of guide, and a large helping of engage. It's not easy and it's not cheap, but if you get it right, it can look like this. This guy, Luis Lopez Ortiz. Luis is a graduate of Petaluma High School and was recruited into Petaluma's Puente program, run by two of our amazing faculty, Roberto Alvarado in counseling and Jessica Green in English. Puente takes a cohort of 30 students, puts them in courses together, and engages them outside the classroom to prepare them for college transfer. One of the hallmarks of the program is that every student receives a mentor from the community. Some of you have probably served as those mentors. Or, if you're interested, drop me a card. So, back to Luis's story, where a friend has introduced him to Petaluma's Our House Intercultural Center. Luis became a student assistant at the Intercultural Center, where Dr. Amanda Morrison, that you see here, now produces dozens of cultural and thought-provoking events each year. Our House also works with the North Bay Organizing Project and other agencies to offer North Bay's only social justice conference, second annual this year. It was standing room only when over 300 students and community members engaged in learning and dialogue around a range of social and cultural issues. And you would have seen Luis there as a presenter at last year's conference. Or opportunity could look like this: Lena Mendez, who began her journey with the JC in the Gateway to College program. As a public charter high school on the Petaluma campus, Gateway not only graduates some of the community's most vulnerable high school students, but also allows these students to earn 24 college credits on average by the time they gain their diploma. We want to thank the Petaluma Rotary Club for making Gateway a grant recipient this year, and congratulate the director of the program, Vanessa Luna Shannon, for earning the Petaluma Chamber of Commerce Excellence in Education Award. But now let's get back to Lena. Because even while she was in Gateway to College, Lena took advantage of employment on campus and founded several clubs and organizations, including Females Empowering Each Other. That club also collaborates with our local Petaluma chapter of American Association of University Women. And by the way, our thanks goes out to AAUW, as Lena was fully sponsored by the organization to attend their national conference in Washington, D.C. just a few weeks ago. And this is where our two stories merge. Both Luis and Lena became student success coaches in our new student success team. And they thrived on the student success team, working with our charismatic coordinator, Byron Reeves. Since the creation of the student success team, every new student is assigned a peer student success coach with whom they communicate using our mobile app. The Petaluma Success Team puts on events and workshops, and it's a unique combination of relationship building, peer mentoring, engagement, and technology that has produced amazing results, helping students to complete their education. And Jane already stole my thunder. On May 14th, the Petaluma Student Success Team was recognized by the Chancellor's Office as this model of innovation, charging us to propagate this model throughout the college and awarding the program an amazing $1.6 million for this work. It really is a truly rags to riches story where we started this program on a shoestring budget and it has become a model. In just a few years, you'll hear how we will be, just a few minutes rather, you'll be hearing how we'll be capitalizing on the success of this program by renovating our student center to become the new home of our student success team and the welcome and engagement center of campus. Lee Sada is going to tell you about this. So just to bring us back to our theme, I want to provide an opportunity of a reminder of what opportunity looks like. It's that. It's a network of relationships, a lattice work of programs and experiences, many of which are supported by you and the organizations to which you belong, each one building on the other, propelling these individuals and many, many, many others towards success. And this is what success looks like. 2 students who continue to inspire me every day, and 2 students who were simply forced to choose from multiple offers, to attend world-class universities in pursuit of their career goals, and finally landed on the choices you see here. So let me end today by recognizing those who represent what we do on this campus best. Lena and Louise, can you please stand up and be recognized? Thank you.
See what 2 great deans can do? All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate your covering that part of the program for me this year. You do it much better than I. You may get to do it in the future. So today's featured speaker came to us by way of Carrie Mahoney Davison, a member of the Friends of Petaluma Campus Trust, who also, you may not know, also serves as the Petaluma Area Representative on SRJC's Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, a group that keeps tabs on bond expenditures to ensure the funds are spent in the way promised to voters and taxpayers. Once Measure H was passed, SRJC formed a steering committee to begin the process of developing a facilities master plan. What we needed was someone who could lead that effort and ensure that we got the very most out of every penny spent from our bond funds. Someone with the background, reputation, gravitas, and stamina that would carry us through the next 10 to 15 years of construction and modernization. I first met Lee Sada when he applied as SRJC's Senior Director of Capital Projects. I was impressed with his intelligence, competence, and in particular with his clear-eyed commitment and understanding of what it would take to work with our board, faculty, administration, students, and our community to bring the vision of SRJC to life. In the years since he's joined SRJC, we've completed the master plan and launched a growing number of Measure H projects, deftly coordinated to have the least possible impact on our ongoing academic program. Lee has been a friend and a huge supporter of SRJC Petaluma through it all, and I learned just recently that he's now a part-time resident of our fair city. Please join me in welcoming our featured speaker and one of my most favorite colleagues, Lee Sada.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm really happy to be here, and I do want to thank Dr. Saldaña-Talley and Dr. Chong for the generous introduction. Again, I'm Lee Sada, and I'm the Senior Director of Capital Projects. And I thought I'd start off by saying, since we're on the family theme, I wanted to clarify that no, I am not Dr. Chong's twin. What I would like to do, though, is I would like to thank Carrie Mahoney Davidson and the Petaluma Campus Trust for the opportunity to speak with you this morning. When I thought about what to share, of course, the first thought that came to mind were to show you the many renderings of the Petaluma campus. As many of you know, we've been hard at work over the last year or so, working with so many of our talented faculty, one of whom you'll meet in a minute, and our staff and our administrators to create a new image for this already beautiful campus. And I promise to show you these images later in the presentation, but before I get there, I wanted to share a few personal thoughts with you about art and architecture, my view of the community college system, and how they continue to impact me and my family personally. I'm going to start off with a little bit of architect's humor. We're kind of nerdy. But this was an interesting quote from Frank Lloyd Wright. The physician can bury his mistakes, but the architect can only advise his clients to plant vines. And of course, it makes me wonder what the healthcare system was like during his time. He was a really interesting and amazing speaker, and one of his more famous quotes is that, "I'm no teacher. Art cannot be taught. You can only inculcate it. You can be an exemplar. You can create an atmosphere in which it can grow." I'm no teacher either, but I've had the good fortune to have worked with many amazing teachers in the Bay Area for over a decade. I've had the good fortune to manage community college capital improvement programs in San Mateo, Marin, and Solano before joining the Santa Rosa team about 3 years ago. These institutions provided me with the collaborative tools to assist teachers and educators to help shape a vision for their campus. And frankly, as Jane just referred to, it provided me with enough experience to tackle the mother of all North Bay college districts, Santa Rosa Junior College. Through the planning, design, and construction process may take years before coming to fruition. Watching students take over their new or renovated space, it never gets old. I come from a family of artists and educators. My mom was a teacher, and my father is an architect. My maternal grandfather was the head of a Japanese bilingual school in Los Angeles, and my paternal grandfather was an award-winning photographer who was part of a Japanese-American photography club in Little Tokyo, Los Angeles, before the war, World War II specifically. Some of his more progressive work is now part of the Japanese-American National Museum in Los Angeles. Education for me was a priority growing up, and it was not a question of whether to attend college, but which university that I would be headed to. My first job was working in my father's architectural studio, making models and running blueprints. By the end of high school, I had worked on a few small and large projects under my father's guidance, whose primary work was in educational and institutional architecture. Among many highlights, my father also testified before Congress as part of an early childhood development task force, which eventually led to the federal Head Start program, one of the Great Society programs of the 1960s. Needless to say, he was greatly influenced by the social movements of that time and was recently recognized by the American Institute of Architects for his work in promoting social justice and equity. I always felt that his interaction with educators inspired him to forge his own path while reaching back to his roots to pull his community forward. My grandfather, the one who led the Japanese bilingual school, was working towards his PhD in psychology at the University of Southern California when World War II interrupted his study, and he was sent to camp along with 110,000 Japanese Americans from the West Coast. Relocated to Aurora, Arkansas, he and his family, including my mom, who was 6 years old at the time, remained there until the end of the war. My father, by coincidence, was also relocated, and his family was sent to Jerome, Arkansas, nearby. After the war, they and a small group of Japanese American families sharecropped the land, returning to California in the early 1950s. By then, my grandfather was providing for a family of 4, as well as his 2 elderly parents, and he was unable to complete his studies. Instead, he made sure that all 4 of his children received an education. I tell this story because I wanted to connect the language of architecture to education. These family situations set the foundation for my life's work. And though I have always identified as an architect, the truth is that I've spent most of my career working with teachers and academics. The education that my parents received was a gift of the California community college system. My grandparents were unable to afford 4 years of college tuition for their children, so they sent all of their children to Pasadena City College. From there, my mom graduated from Cal State LA, and my father, after a detour to serve in the Korean War, graduated from USC. Without the community college system, they may not have had access to their chosen professions and the lifestyle these afforded. I'm convinced that the college education that they received changed the arc of our family history, and mine as well, as they were able to provide me and my siblings with an unlimited number of educational and professional opportunities, and I've been able to do the same for my children. I'm sure that many of you in the room have a similar story, perhaps even here at SRJC. My own career path winds its way through many educational institutions. I spent the first half of my career working as an architect, specializing in educational projects. When I shifted to project management, I did so by joining the capital projects team at the University of San Francisco. I firmly believe that education changes lives, and the community college system more so than most. Here's a few facts about the community college system. Did you know that the California community college system educates 2.1 million students annually, and that 20% of all community college students in the nation attend a California community college? And did you know that the California community college system trains 80% of our first responders? We just had this terrible disaster, and SRJC has a specific training center up in Windsor, which trained many of the people that were there helping our residents first. And here's an amazing fact, that nearly 50% of the University of California STEM, which is science, engineering, technology, and math, graduates started at a community college. You'll hear later from Michelle Hughes Markovics in a few minutes, one of SRJC's STEM professors. Those are her students we're talking about. So if it's not clear by now, I choose to work in the community college system for the people I meet. Okay, and the large bear. Our community college students have incredible stories, overcoming obstacles that most of us are not exposed to, including homelessness, hunger, and even incarceration. Yet they persevere. SRJC Petaluma welcomes each and every student with open arms. I've met the most empathetic people here, people that lead with their hearts and have an open mind. The community college system is the workhorse of California and the higher educational system in this state, providing far more educational opportunities with far less resources than the UC and the Cal State systems. Yet, faculty and staff find time to connect with their students despite the thin funding, as Dr. Williams pointed out earlier. And here at the Petaluma campus, students find their home. The campus is smaller than Santa Rosa, but the campus feels diverse, and the culture encourages risk-taking, as evidenced by the award that was recently received by Dr. Long. Many of the more innovative programs here are in Petaluma. Through your gracious contributions, the Measure H bond we are embarking on will include a series of improvements to all 5 of our teaching sites, including here in Petaluma. Your tax dollars are funding projects large and small, including technology upgrades, audiovisual equipment upgrades, a state-of-the-art vet tech laboratory, as was just pointed out earlier, and improvements to sustainability and energy programs. Petaluma just opened this 4-megawatt solar voltaic array, and this diagram, which is really interesting, was just pulled from the energy management system, showing that between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m., the campus is completely off the grid. Isn't that great? Over the past year, through a series of workshops, we've been designing a STEM project north of the clock tower and a creatively open and flexible student center sparked by the startup culture of San Francisco. I have a few images here to share in a sec, but I did want to say that great care and thought have gone into the design of these projects, and our 2 Petaluma Deans, who you just met, should be recognized for their leadership in driving the process forward. So again, thank you to Dr. Kathleen Williams and Dr. Matthew Long and their respective teams who have spent countless hours thinking through the various options that will form the new Petaluma campus. And I want to say a special thank you to our talented architect team of TBP architects who are here in the room and RHAA landscape architects for providing the following renderings. Let's give them a quick round of applause. So thanks to TLCD, who did the original master plan for the campus, the Petaluma campus was originally conceived as a series of plazas by TLCD architects. TBP and RHAA landscape architects picked up on this theme by adding another layer of courtyards, including the new STEM courtyard and 2 courtyards at the entry to campus. When combined, these plazas and courtyards will tie the campus together. I love how the architects picked up on the existing theme, paying respect to the original layout, yet finding a way to make incremental improvements. And of course, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that each of these courtyards will have a naming opportunity. So please reach out to Kate McClintock and her team at the foundation to discuss these and many other opportunities of all different sizes. The courtyards have a unique identity and use. each providing an opportunity to create a series of unique landscapes. In this rendering, you can see this clock tower plaza slightly to the left with the new STEM plaza to the north. This concept slide demonstrates how the buildings will sort of become background buildings in a way. They'll form the edge of the courtyards with built-in furniture there in front with lots of green space. Another feature of the new designs is that we'll have an outdoor classroom to encourage the use of indoor-outdoor spaces to allow our faculty members and to hold classes outside in addition to their indoor labs. These next two slides show the new labs without the landscape. There's a new chemistry lab there on the left and a new anthropology lab on the right. The anthropology lab will also include an outdoor dig site. And then this perspective is through a typical walkway which connect the buildings together and provide some relief from the weather. Again, the landscape is not shown. Now shifting over to the student services side, this is an aerial rendering of building, 500 on the right and building 400 on the left. A new entry plaza will be designed which will connect the two buildings, and there'll be a building addition in front to help orient students and guests, providing a new front door for student activities. This is the new entry, and the project will include this new gateway and some nice seating down below, and will act as the new entry portal to the Petaluma campus. As we walk towards that portal, you can see new features such as the laundry cafe to the right, which we hope will enliven the space. It's conceived as a pop-up concept, so over time things can change in terms of its use in that space. And then as we pass the laundry cafe, you can see the windows there and a new set of doors that will allow students to traverse back and forth. Moving over to the other side of the project, this would be as if you were standing at the base of the clock tower looking east, and you can see there a new outdoor courtyard with an atrium cafe on the right-hand side. And here's a picture of the new atrium cafe now with some new roll-up doors, which we will hope will create that indoor-outdoor energy currently lacking in the space. And one of the great benefits of the Petaluma campus is that your weather is perfect almost all year round. So let's try to get students kind of moving in and out of the building. And as you round the corner, you'll approach the portal from the north side. And finally, of course, there'll be lots of color to make it feel lively. So I've shared my family history with you to illustrate the impact of the community college on my family, and I'd like to close by sharing with you how the community college system has impacted me personally. I said that my grandfather's education was interrupted by the war and his relocation to Arkansas. By the time he returned to California with his family, he was in his 50s and simply could not complete his PhD with his 4 children entering college. He had to work. But now my children are also out of the house, and to honor my grandfather, and also in due and part to the inspirational stories that I'm exposed to from our community college students, I've actually also returned to school and entered a doctoral program also at USC, bringing the story full circle. I continue to work in the community college system because of the inspiration I receive from our students, and I hope that I can make just a small contribution to SRJC Petaluma. My goal, working with our team, is to make a great college just a little better. With your continued support, I know that SRJC Petaluma will continue to flourish, producing artists, architects, teachers, scientists, and community and business leaders. My final slide is the other half of Frank Lloyd Wright's thought. This made me laugh because even Frank Lloyd Wright, one of the greatest American architects ever to live, upon reflection said, "We are all teachers when we lead by example." I can't think of a higher calling, can you? Let's be the exemplars of what we teach at SRJC and continue to support each other on this great journey. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee. Great job. So you've heard me say that since joining SRJC's Petaluma campus, I've been blessed to hire over 70% of our full-time faculty. And today's faculty speaker was in the first cohort that I hired. Michelle Hughes, Markovics, all of those in their own way were game changers. They included Mike Traina, who you heard from last year. But it was Michelle who showed me what one outstanding faculty member can do to inspire students, reshape institutional culture, and create student experience well outside the norm of a community college setting. When we hired her, Michelle was an instructor, teaching assistant, and tutor in the anthropology department of Florida State University, and she was praised for her ability to connect with at-risk students. As a biological anthropologist who specializes in bioarchaeology and forensic anthropology, she's worked and taught at anthropological sites in southeastern Hungary, southern Italy, and northern Florida, and had experience in organizing and maintaining field laboratories and archaeological collections. Michelle speaks fluent Italian, has intermediate proficiency in Spanish, reading and writing proficiency in Etruscan, and basic proficiency in Hungarian, German, and French. Not long after she began teaching for us, I would notice her walking across campus, followed by a throng of very engaged students. Her student evaluations included comments about how she was the best professor students had ever had and how they were changing their major to anthropology. You see, Michelle was so enthusiastic about her discipline, so tech-savvy, so committed to student success and getting them outside the classroom and into the dirt, so to speak, in places they'd never heard of around the world. They could not help but be swayed to join her. Michelle frequently teaches and mentors in programs designed to interest girls in science and science careers and hosts public archaeology talks here on campus presented by international archaeologists. To this day, Michelle remains as the only full-time faculty member in her discipline on this campus. It has been up to her to develop and nurture the Biological Anthropology Lab at SRJC Petaluma from the ground up. And believe me when I say I've approved the purchase of hundreds of bones and skeletons and models and materials to support her vision. In recent years, Michelle has partnered with Dr. David Kratzman, Environmental Studies Geology faculty, who spoke to you a couple of years ago, to make Sicily and the lost coast of Italy their classroom. And you can join them, if you'd like, on one of their study abroad adventures in the summer of 2019. They're going to be studying volcanoes and archaeology. Together, they have nurtured and grown a multidisciplinary program designed to expose students on campus and around the world to the joys of field research. The new Measure H-funded classroom science building, as Lee mentioned, will include an anthropology classroom and lab and outdoor teaching space I like to call the Big Dig, that will give students hands-on experience identifying geological strata and digging for archaeological artifacts, which are printed, by the way, on our 3D printer that was funded through a grant with from the SRJC Foundation. It gives me very great pleasure this morning to introduce my colleague, the very talented and very persuasive Michelle Hughes Markovics.
All right, good morning, everybody. I'm not used to microphones. I'm usually loud enough without them, so if I get even louder, I apologize to your ears. So I first want to say, thank you so much for allowing me to be here today. I'm very excited to be able to talk to you about my love, which is anthropology and teaching. So what I thought I would do is I would just tell you a little bit about what we do here and how SRJC Petaluma is a little bit different than what you might find in Santa Rosa. Before we do that, though, I feel that I need to very briefly give you an idea of what anthropology is. I tend to think that people know what it is until I go to a family function, and then I find out that people think that I actually dig up dinosaurs. There's a 60 million year difference between our earliest humans and dinosaurs. We like dinosaurs, we just don't dig them up. So very briefly, I've put a few things up here to give you an idea of what it is that anthropologists are into. And basically, anthropology is us. It's all about us. It's the study of humans. We're interested in anything you could possibly imagine about human beings. So we are very interested in our past, our earliest ancestors, our closest living relatives and their ancestors. We're interested in the biological makeup of us as modern humans, and the evolutionary processes that got us to here. How did we get like this? How did we get things like these terrible back problems we have from walking like this, or fallen arches in our feet. Why do most of us have overbites? What are cavities? How do we get all of these things? Why do we all have different skin colors? These are the kinds of things that we're interested in about us biologically. And of course, we can't leave out the cultural side of us or the behavioral parts. So we are interested in everything from political systems to who you choose to marry, if you choose to marry at all. Do you have pets? Do you eat meat? Anything you could possibly imagine about humans behaviorally, an anthropologist has studied. So we're interested in how we express ourselves, our cultural habits, our behavioral habits, and really one of the most integral things is how we adapt to the environment around us. Most people take this literally to think about how do you adapt to living in the desert, but it could also be about adapting to social situations like this situation that I'm finding myself in right now. This is something that we all learn through our cultural learning, and this is something that, as an anthropologist, I find fascinating. Being in a room surrounded by people with suits is a very unusual thing for me. You look very different from my normal audience. Okay, so that's just a little bit about anthropology. The short answer is that it's all about us. So I normally, since I'm a full-time instructor here, I teach 5, sometimes 6 classes each semester. These are the 4 classes that I'm going to talk about really briefly today. So I'll just give you an idea of what these are about. So Forensic Anthropology, this is really a class in which students learn how to read a human skeleton. It's all about the skeleton, how to reconstruct a person's life, and of course also the way that they died. And that is tied in with biological anthropology, which I've already briefly spoken about, which is about everything you could imagine about our bodies, our human bodies, and of course it focuses on the skeleton as well. I also teach archaeology, an introduction to archaeological methods class. This is one of my favorite classes to teach because it really can open students' eyes to the past and to understanding the past and thinking about how important the past is for all of us. And one specific type of archaeology that I teach about is Mesoamerican archaeology. I was lucky enough as a graduate student to work with one of the world's foremost scholars in Olmec archaeology. Now, probably most of you have never even heard of the Olmec before, but they're one of the most important cultural groups pre-European contact in the Americas. So we'll talk a little bit about some of the things that I do in these classes starting now. One thing that we focus on here in Petaluma particularly is active learning. And active learning is just what it sounds like. This is learning by doing. So I do a little bit of this where I talk to classes and I do the old sage on the stage kind of a thing where we lecture. But a lot of my classes I like to be interactive. I like noisy classrooms, active classrooms, and I like to be outside as much as possible. And so my classes, I think, reflect that in that we're often seen roaming about the campus doing all kinds of things that make our head of facilities very nervous. Sorry, Gary, if you're here. What you can see in this image here is these are actually some students from this semester, this last semester that just ended, who are working on honing some of the techniques that they learned about in their archaeology class based on things that they've actually removed from a fake dig. Now, the student that you can see here, this is Eli Renteria, and Eli is an amazing student in many ways, and I'm so excited for him. He got 2 bits of great news, got into UCLA, and he is going to excavate at the world-famous archaeological site of Petra in Jordan. He just left a couple of days ago, so excited. So when we do this kind of active learning in our classes, it's really all about developing skills. And in my view, school isn't just about the facts you learn, but it's learning about how to interact with the people around you and learning how to interact with the world. And active learning can give us a lot of practice at problem solving and at critical thinking critically about what it is that you're doing. One of the ways that I like to do this in my classes is I have my students do projects, and in many cases they experiment, and that's actually what you're looking at in this image here. This is an image of a project that was just completed last semester from one of my archaeology students. And what he did was, his project was about the site of Herculaneum in southern Italy in the Bay of Naples. Some of you may have heard of it. It's a site that's next to Pompeii. It's less famous, but it's much more interesting. There was an entire library of thousands of papyrus scrolls that were carbonized. They weren't entirely burned, and the Neapolitan archaeologists, Italian archaeologists, are right now trying to read those scrolls. You can actually still read the writing. So what this student did, he was very resourceful, and he found papyrus, of course, on the internet, and he practiced writing on it, even Latin, actually, and then he burned them, and he burned them in different ways to see how it would work out. And that's actually what you're looking at there, is the burned papyrus from that experiment. One of the other primary ways that we promote active learning is through excavation. And this works really well, in particular for two of my courses, the Forensic Anthropology course and for the Archaeology course. So what you're looking at in the picture here on the left is students who are working together on a mock crime scene. So I kill, with quotation marks, at least 5, more like 10 people every semester for my students. And they often joke, I know, they often joke that I teach them how to get away with murder. So, but what they're doing here is they're trying to solve the mystery. They're trying to solve the mystery of what happened to the people that are buried in that, it's actually a raised garden bed, but at the crime scene. And so they're learning how to work together, how to gather all of the data, how to synthesize it, and how to make sense of it. And these are really important skills, not just for being a crime scene investigator or a forensic anthropologist, but for being a human. And so this is one of the reasons why I love doing this, besides the fact that it's really fun, and we get to be outside. Here are a couple of images also this is from last year, from my forensic anthropology class, where it actually was raining the whole day, and they built us a fantastic covering so we could still be out in the rain. And you can see the students here, Katie Pacias-Dennett and Casey Aldrich, both studying the scene and thinking about their approach before they decide exactly how to remove the material underneath the grave that they're about to excavate. The girl on the right, this is Kate, and Kate actually just she called me and was crying because she got into Berkeley, which was a dream come true for her. So it's things like that can make all of the stress we have in our job sometimes really feel worth it. Oh, this picture's cut off again. Okay, sorry, we'll go right past that. This is actually some activities that, if you've ever been on our campus during the semester, you may be familiar with these. These are some of my students from my Mesoamerican Origins class, and what they're doing is, I call this, if any of you know who the Clash are, there's a line in one of their songs, Ghetto Defendant. Anyone? I don't know, okay. Enlighten the Populace, right? This is my Enlighten the Populace class, where I have students go out onto the campus and kind of force learning on other people. They'll hand out facts, they draw. So here what they've done, some of the things you can see, that's Jose Gashola, and he's up there writing his name in Mayan glyphs, which he learned to do in my class. And this is a Mayan date. So they learn about the calendrical systems as well as basics about glyphs. It's really fun. They get to spread this all over the campus. Here are just a couple more shots, and I promise she's wearing pants. When I saw this image up here yesterday, I thought, oh God, she looks like she's not wearing pants. She was, I swear. These are some more of my archaeology students engaged in excavation and then screening for artifacts here. Another great image. This one on the right was a very confusing burial, and they were trying to figure out what had happened. I was in a very strange mood when I set this one up, and it was sort of mixing up a serpent skeleton with a human skeleton, and you can see they look a little bit confused as they're staring at it. They did finally get it, though. And I want to point out in the bottom left-hand corner, do you see the pink arrow? It's kind of hard to see, but that is a 3D printed bobcat skull. And so we actually have included quite a number of these in our excavation units, and they're really great for in the classroom, and they're actually much less likely to be broken by students. So here what you're looking at, this is our 3D printer at work. And so on the left, we actually are printing 4 copies of Venus figurines, and on the right, these are some little fish baubles, and you'll be seeing these today. Yeah, Jane's got one right there. And so I just wanted to put this up. This is one of our great pieces of technology that we have. We're very excited about. Here are a couple of examples printed. So you can see the Venus figurines on the right. They're the ladies in red. And we actually used these in my archaeology class this semester, and I had a student who did some experimental archaeology making Venus figurines with clay herself. And don't get too excited, Jane. It's not quite, I still have a few more slides. I can see her over there menacing me. Yes, it's the time. All of this, of course, is made possible by you. And most of the things that you've seen, actually all of the things that you've seen, have come as a result from donations from the Friends of Petaluma Campus Trust and the foundation, as well as through taxpayers. So like Lee, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that, of course, we're always open for donations. We got a $5,000 donation from an anonymous donor just for Anthro in Petaluma this semester, and I'm very excited about it. Okay, so very briefly, just want to give you some ideas of things that I'm doing that will come back here to the Petaluma campus. So first, very excited about the Measure H money. I cannot thank the taxpayers of Sonoma County enough. We're getting a brand new and improved anthropology lab. We're getting this outside classroom, which I've been asking for years now, and an expanded excavation area, and also space to work with my colleagues outside. Very excited. We already work with art and geometry, where'd that come from? Geology and biology, so I'm very excited about this, and chemistry as well. A dream come true for me, literally. Honestly, I still get nervous thinking about this. I was just asked a couple of weeks ago to participate in excavating at a UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Ness of Brodgar. This is the most important Neolithic site perhaps in Europe, but most definitely in Great Britain. Most of you have probably never heard of it before, but trust me, it is. It's actually more important than Stonehenge, although most of you have not ever heard of it. Here's an image of it taken by a drone, just to give you an idea of the scale. And this is up in the Orkney Islands, the far north of Scotland, and I'll be going there for excavation in August. Very excited. Drones were mentioned earlier. One of the things that I'm doing this summer is I'm actually taking a few classes at San Francisco State about drones, drone usage, and imaging with drones. I've also been working with Donald Laird, who is our resident drone expert, and there's been some discussion of developing a certificate for drone use in archaeology, because drones in archaeology are a perfect match. They're great for using in remote sensing, and they're becoming an indispensable tool for us. In the fall, I'll be doing a one-semester sabbatical, which I'm so excited for. And what I'll be doing on my sabbatical is a whole lot of experimental archaeology, and all of this will come back into the classroom. The idea is that you try to recreate things from the past, the artifacts that you see. So you use traditional techniques and traditional tools to do things like make Roman face pots, like you can see in the upper left. I'll be doing that at the Roman site on Hadrian's Wall. I will also be learning all about copper and bronze and how to find it, to get the ore, to prepare the ore, to smelt it, to make the mold in order to make bronze axes and copper axes. Who doesn't need one of those? And last but not least, I would like to just put in another plug for this. This will be the third time now that I've taught abroad in Italy, poor me. I'm so excited about being able to do this one more time. And just in case you think you might be too old for this, you are not. The very first time that I took students to Italy for SRJC, I had 5 students that were over the age of 60. Just saying. You could be with us going to over 20 archaeological sites and 5 volcanoes. This is some students from our Rome project that we did 4 years ago. We're on top of Mount Vesuvius. Okay, that's it. I'm way over time. I apologize. Thank you very much.
It's this grand tension between talented people and timing. Today, it really is my most sincere pleasure. Our last speaker of the morning is William Zachariah Morrison. He's a student in our Science, Technology, Engineering, and Math program. Come on up, William. And the stories from students are the best telling of what it is that we do here at SRJC Petaluma. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and let William tell you a little bit about his experience here on the campus.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. Good morning. My name is William Zachariah Morrison, as mentioned, and I'm very thankful for the opportunity to be able to speak and represent this academic environment. It's a wonderful community to be in. Just a little bit about myself. I'm born and raised in Petaluma. I've been here my entire life, and I've been part of this community, luckily, for my entire life. This day today, in 2016, I signed up for my first semester in the SRJC. In this time, I've completed 57 applicable units for transfer, and I've enrolled in the mechanical engineering program as my major. This fall, I will be with Matthew Martin, one of our wonderful new tenured professors over there, as his pal. This is a wonderful learning opportunity for me, as I'll be able to impact and to mentor first-generation students such as myself and help create a new learning environment. Enough about me, however. I would like to tell you about our wonderful Petaluma campus. This campus has become something much more different than just an academic hub. It's become a comfortable home, and I'm really proud to be part of this. Excuse me. So, the campus has a kind of personality to it that bolsters a lot of community-oriented things, such as exercises, events, academic counseling, and tutoring that's all free, and a lot of communication between professors and students, which really helps bring ambition and excellence so we can shoot for our dreams. And this has become something that really embodies this campus, because being the smaller campus, we're almost like a small community, just as Petaluma, but we all are shooting for the same idea of success. And that's what really makes us unique here in the Petaluma campus. As we continue growing in the campus, we continue striving for new excellence. We keep shooting for new boundaries, and we're continuously making progress in new areas like the Anthropology department, as well as the STEM major buildings that are coming here. And I'm really proud to say that as we continue forth, making a learning environment, we have done an excellent job in keeping up to our goals as well as reaching for new goals. And that's something that really makes me happy as I'm here as a student at the SRJC. But as the SRJC continues to reach for new success, there are some shortcomings that the Petaluma campus faces. And this is with the STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics department, as you have heard. Unfortunately, at the Petaluma campus, we don't have a lot of the classes that are offered at the Santa Rosa campus as opposed to here. This poses a problem for a lot of students because, as you may know, a lot of students from Novato, Sonoma, Napa, and other communities, aside from Petaluma, use the Petaluma campus as their main tool of success. And it's very detrimental when these students have to commute all the way to Santa Rosa in order to take classes that are required for them to graduate. This poses a problem for me, as I'll be bouncing personally between these two campuses because the only classes I need are going to be located in Santa Rosa and not here. So if we were able to bring these STEM classes and to make both campuses equal in strength, it would help community outreach as well as to help students reach success and to get to their majors and graduate in an efficient environment. So in review, I just want to let you guys know that we are lucky to be part of this campus. It's very unique. It's very straightforward. The teachers and the students have a very direct line of communication that is unlike any other teaching environment that I've ever seen or been, and I'm very proud to represent it. As we continue moving forth and keep reaching towards new goals, we need to think about bringing these STEM classes here, as it'll help students be able to strive for success and to help the Petaluma campus become even better. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, William. I'm always impressed when our students can stand up in front of this crowd here and do such a great job. So our program is nearly completed, which means that we're almost ready to send you off into your day. But before we do that, I'd like to ask one more person to join me on stage. It's my pleasure this morning to introduce Philip Trow, who is founder of Pure Energy Productions, who's here to help us make a special ask. Come on up.
Thank you, Jane. You want to take your
Yeah,
notes?
I'll take my stuff.
That wasn't a very great round of applause that I got, actually.
I'm sorry about that.
Some of you probably know me and you're hiding. I know what's going on here. So, good morning, and thank you for being here to support the SRJC Petaluma campus. I'm here this morning to help you achieve your fundraising goal. So, and mostly because Mike Harris didn't want to have to do it. So on your table in the center is a stack of envelopes that I know you've been graciously ignoring for the morning, but I think it's appropriate at this time that we pull that stack out and pass them around the table, make sure everyone gets one. Sort of like your souvenir for the morning, if you'd like. And as those are getting passed around, I just wanted you to maybe briefly take a quick look at it and notice that as humans, we read from left to right, and with the incredibly small font and the $1,000 donation being on the far left, I think that was intentional, but anyway. So I recently completed the Leadership Petaluma program, and on our education day, we visited and toured this amazing campus. It was exciting to hear about the history, the 100-year history of this great school. We truly have a gem of an educational institution right here in Petaluma. We're all here because we love Petaluma and we love the SRJC. We appreciate the generous support of the community, but today we're asking for more. Let's all work together right now to raise funds to support students and programs on the Petaluma campus. Our goal today is $20,000 for the Petaluma Student Success Fund. This fund supports students and helps programs right here at the Santa Rosa JC Petaluma campus. Some of you may have come here today already prepared to commit to a donation. Thank you. It's a good start. And now I know the community leaders in this room will step up and join you. We also encourage you to challenge the others at your table to join you. A little friendly competition never hurt anybody. The Petaluma Student Success Fund will support students with money for whatever needed to get them into college, to keep them in class, to provide the best education and support them to achieve their goals. A few examples. Maria is an excellent first-generation college student and single mom from Petaluma. She has worked hard to achieve a 3.5 GPA while also working to provide for her 2 young children. She receives financial aid and scholarships that cover her tuition, but she has shared that the cost of transportation and childcare may keep her from enrolling in the fall to complete her program. A Petaluma student named Steve is studying math and science in hopes of transferring to his dream school, UCLA, to major in engineering. He is a bright and amazing young man and has almost everything he needs to be successful, but the books and software he needs to complete his coursework are very expensive, more than what he can afford with his part-time job. The programs on the Petaluma campus are incredible, due in large part to the amazing faculty. The faculty is full of new ideas on how to improve these programs or develop new ones, so successful members of our community will make new students. But with budget cuts, they won't be able to cover the cost of necessary equipment or teaching tools. Other important programs need funding, like the Gateway to College program, intercultural programs, experimental learning programs, and more. You can see the entire list on your table. There are so many things that students need to even be able to attend school: transportation, health services, food and safe spaces. Many of these things are provided on the Petaluma campus, but some services may be cut with the current budget. We can help minimize the impact on students. We can help influence student success. If we can all commit to give an amount that is comfortable, we can help students like Maria and Steve and so many others. Again, the goal is $20,000 from this group today. Please help us meet it. Petaluma students and programs are depending on us. These students and their families are forming the future of our community. We have the opportunity to make a real impact with your decision today to support the SRJC Petaluma campus. So now the ask, the most awkward moment of the day. So I see a lot of community leaders here. I see a lot of amazing Petaluma citizens. You're here because you're amazing. You're here because you love Petaluma, and you're here because you love the JC. So we're simply going to ask for you to make a donation today in any amount that you see fit. You can fill out these cards, or if you would like to donate more than the $1,000 presented on this donation card, we would like to hear from you now. In fact, I like to play with numbers a little bit. It makes donating that much more fun. So say if you wanted to donate $2 for each year the SRJC has been in existence, you'd be donating $200, and you'd probably feel great. If you were so inclined to donate $200 a year for every year the SRJC has been in existence, we could all leave now. But really, it takes a village to raise a child. It takes a great community to educate a child. So, would anyone in the room like to be recognized for donating more than $1,000? You can raise your hand now. It's not like I didn't expect that. Yeah. But we want to give you an opportunity. So, again, would anyone like to donate an amount more than $1,000? That's okay, because the idea is that you're supposed to make a donation based on what's comfortable for you. And what I'd like to do is ask that sitting at your tables before you leave today, that you talk amongst yourselves and challenge your table to possibly raise the most money that you can. So, yes? Yeah. Oh, okay. So if anyone would like to make a donation of $500 or more, we'd like to hear from you now. Just raise your hand. Perfect. So I'm hoping this mic works. Does this mic work?
Yeah. Let's get that.
So I'm going to have you walk over and introduce these donations.
Okay. We don't have that kind of time.
You don't have that kind of time? Yeah. Okay. So, ma'am, your donation will be graciously accepted. How much would you like to donate? $500. Thank you so much.
All right.
And you, sir? $1,000 right here. Thank you so much. $1,000 from Jane right here. How much, sir? $1,000. See, it's, and you, ma'am. $1,000. Where is all this coming from?
Right.
So, raise your hand if you'd like to donate at the $1,000 level. We'll keep recognizing you. $1,000 right here.
Thank you.
See, it's a roller coaster effect. So, once again, playing with the numbers, if you would like to donate simply $10 for every point the Warriors have beat the Cavaliers in the finals, that would be $360. So keep the numbers rolling in your head, fill out this card, donate to the best of your ability. Let's reach our goal of $20,000, Petaluma. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Phil. I know that these are, we're a little bit over, and you're always so gracious with me. I just want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank our silver sponsors, Clover Sonoma Exchange Bank, Lace House Linen, Mahoney Davidson Property Management, Pacific Union International, and Torkelson Associates, LLP, Certified Public Accountants, for stepping up. Everything that you do, you've been loyal table sponsors and brought our community to this event, and you truly are the best community that I've ever served. Before you leave, I invite you to find out who among your table mates, other than donations, birthday is closest to Kathleen Doyle's, which happens to be today. Happy birthday, Kathleen Doyle. So if your birthday is close to June 7th, feel free to take home the centerpiece. Please stop by outside. We have got bags and gifts and things that you can take as a giveaway for SRJC's 100th birthday celebration. We also have some examples of those 3D printed creatures that Michelle was talking about. And we also have tours if you're interested in that. So in closing, this is, if you don't know this by now, your community's college. And it's been my honor to have you here as our guests. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for your continued support of our students and your trust in me. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your morning.